Welcome back, YouTube, to the GOATcast podcast. I'm your host, Big Nige, and welcome back to another segment of Basketball with Big Nige. Today, I got another special treat for you guys. Today, we'll be taking on the Northwest Division of the Western Conference and seeing how these five teams stack up against each other. We're not going to be super high analysis, nothing too in depth, just my thoughts on the five teams of the Northwest Division. So as always, before we get into it, please like the video, comment down below your thoughts on my picks for the Northwest Division, subscribe if you're new, and as always, let's get into it. So coming in at the number 5 spot of the Northwest Division, we got the Portland Trash Blazers. They're a pretty forgettable team. They didn't make any moves really this offseason. They did add Denny Advija from the Washington Wizards. He was kind of rotting away over there in Washington. They decided to give him a try. He's a pretty big forward, had some point forward tendencies over there in Washington, wasn't playing any meaningful basketball, obviously. So we'll see if his skills can translate from a meaningless team out east to a meaningless team out west. Not much else. They did add Devontae Graham, kind of to replace their key departure in Malcolm Brogdon, who was pretty good for them and spelled for Anthony Simons when he went down with his injury last season, et cetera, et cetera. This team is obviously dog water to the highest degree. They did make some noise in the draft. Do I think their pick is going to do anything for them in the immediate future? No, they're probably right back in the lottery, and that's not going to be a shocker to anybody. Next up on the list, we have the Utah Jazz. The Utah Jazz, their biggest re-signing was obviously all the controversial about Lauri Markkanen. Is he going to go to the Warriors? Is he going to go to the LA, the Kings, whatever? Was he the missing piece to those puzzles out west? Turned to find out he signs a 5-year extension. Happy for him. He got his bread. What is the direction of the Utah Jazz? I know they added Drew Eubanks, a solid athletic big man. He came from the Suns. Didn't do all too much there. He's a big body, athletic, sure. They get Patty Mills for virtually nothing. A veteran point guard who can space the floor, do some things for you. So will that add to the winning column for a team like Utah? Probably not. But it's maybe good for their point guard. I think it's Keontae George, maybe a mentor for him. He's a pretty young point guard in this league. So we'll see kind of what that does for him. They did lose Chris Dunn. Russell Westbrook was waived. He was never going to be on that roster anyway. And then they lost Omer Yurtseven. He was waived. Pretty forgettable moves all around. Utah's my number 4 spot. I think they're better than Portland, which is why I have them slightly better in the Northwest Division. They do have better pieces. They have Lauri Markkanen, who's probably a perennial all-star at this point in his career. But again, none of the teams that he's going to be on, unless he moves to another team, is going to get him to an all-star spot. But he's definitely playing like an all-star. Can't say the same for anybody out there in Portland. So coming in number 3, a big shocker to everybody, I got the Denver Nuggets. Now, the Denver Nuggets, they were not able to retain KCP, pretty much their best catch and shoot 3-pointer, 3-and-D guy, glue guy outside of Aaron Gordon. Aaron Gordon's not no shooter by no stretch of the imagination. He kind of does all the other little things, a la like a Draymond Green, sits in the dunker spot. Obviously, he's more athletic than Draymond, but you kind of get the picture. They lose KCP, who's one of their best 3-point shooters, gritty defenders. And his replacement now is going to be Christian Braun. He's no shooter that KCP is. He doesn't fit with that Nuggets offense as well as KCP. So I'm looking forward to seeing what this roster looks like and how are they going to spell for KCP's absence, because he was an integral part in the dominance of the Denver Nuggets. They did bring back DeAndre Jordan. Shout out to him. He's a fossil. He's basically a glorified cheerleader at this point in his career. But he's better than some people out there. They brought Jamal Murray in for his big 4-year extension. Shout out Jamal Murray. He deserved He deserved that money considering what he did to that guy in the Lakers this past off season or past postseason, and considered he played terribly quarters 1 through 3. But of course, fourth quarter he became second Black Jesus. So shout out to him. Shout out for getting that money. They also added Dario Saric and Russell Westbrook. Um, and I think adding Russell Westbrook kind of alleviates some of that backup point guard position that Reggie Jackson was supposed to be filling last season, but he didn't really do too well of a job in the postseason. Basically unplayable at certain stretches. They kind of played his confidence right out of Denver. So you lose KCP, you lose Reggie, you bring in Sarge, you bring in Russell. I would like to see Denver start Russell Westbrook and move Jamal Murray to the 2. And then you got Michael Porter Jr. at the 3, Aaron Gordon at the 4, Jokic at the 5. Um, it would be a little interesting to see how Jokic and Russell play together, considering you know, they both need the ball in their hands to do what they need to do. We know Russ is not the best off the ball kind of guy. I'd like him as like kind of the quintessential point guard that he can be, but not for key pivotal moments. I think you play him spot minutes, and then you just go to the Jamal Murray, Nikola Jokic pick and roll to kind of seal the deal. I don't think they're as good as last year because of that deficiency. And then if they would have got somebody like a Klay Thompson who fits seamlessly with what KCP was giving them, then okay, they wouldn't really move an inch, and they probably would have actually gone higher on my list. But right now, I have them at number 3, and it's out of the respect for Nikola Jokic. I'm not going to count them out, but they do need to fill that spot that KCP left because he was a very integral part of that roster. All right. So coming in at number 2, I got the Minnesota Timberwolves. Um, Timberwolves made a big move, or they made a big run this last postseason. Obviously, shocking, beating the brakes off Phoenix Suns, shocking the Denver Nuggets in a crazy 7-game series, and then ultimately falling short to the Dallas Mavs. I think Anthony Edwards kind of showed his youth a little bit, his lack of on-ball creativity at times, sometimes his stagnant ability to just shoot perimeter shots. Um, we needed to see more from Jaden McDaniels. We saw the inconsistency of Karl Anthony Towns. So these moves that they made in this offseason didn't really address any of their issues. They did bring in PJ Dozier, and they did bring in Joe Ingles. Joe Ingles would have been a very good pickup for them probably like 5 years ago. I think this version of Joe Ingles can give them something, but nothing crazy. I want to admit that they did lose slow-mo Kyle Anderson, who I think he played in terms of just his IQ and kind of him getting out there in the postseason and making a difference with his kind of off-ball plays, his little bit of his uh, small ball 5 playmaking opportunities when Karl Anthony Towns or Rudy Gobert got into foul trouble. I did like the steady hand that he brought off the bench, albeit obviously not the greatest shooter, but a damn good defender and a pretty solid playmaker. So he goes to the Warriors, which I'll be talking about them in a later video, but that's a good pickup for them. They did lose Monte Morris, Wendell Moore Jr., and Jordan McLaughlin, all names that aren't really moving the needle either way you look at it. So biggest question about them, can those young guys, can McDaniels, can uh, Edwards and Towns, can they make that next step, take that next step, and seal the deal? So the next time they play somebody like the Dallas Mavericks, they're not stuck in the water. Um, Obviously, Rudy Gobert is Rudy Gobert at this point. Hate him, love him. His game's not changing. He's going to miss some layups. He's going to get dunked on, but he is going to give you meaningful minutes out there in spot minutes. So they're the number 2 team. I have them over the Nuggets just because, they did just get done beating them in the postseason. So y'all can't come for me in the comment section about that. Right now, they are better, and we'll see what the season looks like, if that holds true or not. And of course, we all know this. The Oklahoma City Thunder are the best team in the Northwest Division. It is not close. Stop with the noise about everything else. They are the best team in the Northwest Division. If we're talking about the regular season, hands down, they're going to be the best team. Probably a top 3 seed in the Western Conference easily. And that's backed on the moves that they made. They made some brilliant moves. Bringing in a guy like Alex Caruso, in a big man and like Isaiah Hartenstein. You address defense, you address rebounding, physicality, you address the glaring deficiencies that the Dallas Mavericks just beat them up. You know, they stole their lunch money and beat them up. And so now that you got a big guy like Isaiah Hartenstein who can kind of come in there with Chet, be physical. They got the next coming of the Twin Towers, kind of similar to, in my opinion, the Minnesota Timberwolves. Even though I believe Hartenstein is a better, maybe offensive player than Rudy Gobert. You can talk defense all day. You could probably give Gobert the edge on defense. I'm not mad at that. Um, but this is an offensive driven league, and you got two good offensive big men now with Isaiah Hartenstein and Chet Holmgren. Obviously, you got who I picked for MVP and Shea Gilgeous-Alexander. You have J-Dub, Jalen Williams, and Lou Dort kind of played himself out of the rotation. He was missing a lot of key shots in that Dallas series. And if he does that this year, they got somebody like Alex Caruso who can come in and spell for his deficiencies. So he better be on his A game and he better bring it because Caruso will steal those minutes if he doesn't act right. They brought back Isaiah Joe and Aaron Wiggins, two phenomenal role players on that roster. Could be borderline starters on other rosters in the NBA, but it's the fact that they were able to re-sign them for multiple years and keep that consistency in that second unit. They did, however, lose Josh Giddey, who played his tail off in the Olympics, by the way. Shout out Josh Giddey. He got a flack for all the other stuff going on in the NBA, but he's a damn good player. Not the best defender and not the best shooter, which is why I didn't think he fit. And I knew he was going to get hunted against the Mavericks because postseason is everything is X's and O's, everything's meticulous. He was damn near unplayable in that series. They moved off from him. He had no desire to come off the bench anymore. So I look forward to seeing what he does for Chicago. Gordon Hayward retired. Shout out to Gordon Hayward. Hell of a career. Maybe didn't get the most success, but he made a lot of money. So shout out to him for getting that bag. And then the other departure is Lindy Waters III. I have no idea who that guy is, nor will I ever do. That's going to wrap it up for the Northwest division. I got the Thunder at number 1, Timberwolves number 2, Nuggets at 3, Jazz at 4, and Blazers at 5. Y'all let me know down below if y'all think I'm crazy. Y'all think that these predictions are spot on for the Northwest division. And as always, I appreciate you guys watching me. Appreciate y'all taking the time out today to come chat with me. Let me know what you think about this formal interaction. This basketball big nine, it's a conversation, man. It's me talking to you like we just sitting at a picnic table or lunchroom, just basketball conversation casually, So let me know down below if you think this is a good or you think I need to go back to my other traditional way of presenting these videos to you. Let me know down below. And until the next video, guys, I'm out.